What if there are no new highs for Bitcoin, no new highs for Ethereum, no new highs for the majority of cryptocurrencies in 2022? Well, it is becoming a real possibility. That is what we could be seeing happening. In today's video, I want to talk with you about some of the things that are weighing very heavily on the market right now, and what are the potential catalysts that we would need to see crypto reaching new all-time highs in 2022. My name's Lark. Every day I make videos talking about cryptocurrency investing. If you like that topic, like staying up to date with what's happening in the cryptocurrency industry, a little tap on the thumbs up button to let me know. That would be massively appreciated. So thank you very much. By the way, every single week my team and I make Wealth Mastery. It's a cryptocurrency investor report. We talk about NFTs, we talk about token sales, airdrops, altcoin reviews, DeFi tutorials, and much, much more. You can sign up for free using the link down below in the description. Now, we're not going to be looking at any charts really, quickly at a couple charts, but a few graphs as well. But basically right now, Bitcoin is in what we like to call a crab market. Mostly sideways. Basically, right now, Bitcoin is the same price within a couple $1,000s of where it's been the entire, well, last year, really. Definitely all of 2022, but we have really just seen Bitcoin ranging. Mostly sideways these days. Yeah, there's some dramatic dumps and some occasional pumps to get your hope up before the market crashes your hopes on the rocks of despair once again. Don't get into fights with drunken crabs, guys, especially when they have knives. It's dangerous stuff. Look, the market's a bit crazy right now. You do need to stay frosty. You do need to realize that there are risks in the market right now that you cannot control. You cannot control what the Fed is doing. You cannot control the equity markets getting smashed, but you can control the amount of risk that you are taking on in these markets. Now, let's take a quick look at a few charts here. We're not going to be too chart heavy today, but just want to point out this is the S&P 500. Remember, right now, Bitcoin, Ethereum, the entire cryptocurrency industry basically, but Bitcoin as the tip of the spear here is basically trading at its highest correlation levels or near its highest correlation levels ever with the equity markets. That's the S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial, and the NASDAQ. It is following right along with what all these major equity indexes are doing. Now, this is the S&P 500. You can see right now we are coming down to test a very major area of price support for the S&P 500 index. That's our oh shit line, if you will. If we lose that major area of support, well, there isn't any more major areas of price support for a while. We also did just get a bearish crossover on the monthly MACD for the S&P 500 after a massive run up. We are now rolling over, and as we just mentioned, when the equity markets sneeze, crypto catches a cold. We can see here, this is Bitcoin on the weekly charts. We are coming down towards this key trend line right here. Basically, this has been tracking for a few months now. I wouldn't really want to see the price of Bitcoin closing under this on the weekly. We also have our 100-week simple moving average, the blue line here. Again, that'd be a really nice area for Bitcoin not to go under to maintain our crab market basically of moving sideways. If we start losing some of these major lines, then the downside potential could bring in a lot more pain for the market. We did too just get a bearish crossover on the weekly MACD for Bitcoin, potentially indicating either some more price pain or potentially, of course, just some more sideways action coming in for the market. The market, by the way, we've basically lost all of the interested parties who might want to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. You can see this is the trading volume for Bitcoin and Ethereum since late 2020. We've seen basically the volume for these two key assets, which together make up around 50% of the entire cryptocurrency market cap, drop right off. We've just been on a downtrend for months and months and months and months and months for the volume for these key cryptocurrencies, basically saying there's no retail euphoria. There's not a big amount of buyers rushing into the market. People do not want to be getting into crypto right now because they see it as a risk-on asset. They don't see it as a risk-off asset like gold, for example. They see it as basically trading like a tech stock, which it has been It has been, which is frustrating, but that's exactly what has been going on. Bitcoin has basically been trading like a tech stock, and you can see it just trailing right along with these major index funds for the stock world. Now we also see the search term volume absolutely cratering as well. Basically been on a downtrend here for a while. We did have a little spike earlier in the year, a little spike later in the year last year, but for the most part, people have lost interest in crypto, right? The prices are down. Nobody's interested in buying when it's cheap. It's always such a weird thing with human psychology for me when looking at the markets. Everybody wants to buy the top, man. And nobody wants to be accumulating when it's boring, when it's psychologically hard to do because the markets are set down so far and your portfolio's down. But now's the good time to be buying. Now is when the accumulation happens. Now is when the people who are buying, the smart money guys, they're the ones who are going to be the millionaires in a year or 2 years or 3 years' time when we see, massive pumps happen in the market again. But right now, we have very low interest in the markets, and without retail interest, either for trading volume or for search volume, we're going to have a hard time getting to new high prices without a broader range of the market being interested. And with all the macro stuff going on, it's hard to entice people back into the cryptocurrency market right now because people are worried about inflation. They're worried about the economy. They're worried about recession fears. They're worried about, how they're going to feed their family this week and stuff like this. They're less interested in buying monkey pictures and in buying Bitcoin and in buying speculative altcoin number 2000 on CoinMarketCap. Now, we are in an interest rate hiking period. Usually, the good news here is that usually we have a 7.3%. That's the average return 12 months after a Federal Reserve interest rate hike happens. Obviously, we have to talk about what's happening in the U.S. It is still the biggest economy in the world. It is still the reserve asset the US dollar is. So it's very important that we keep an eye on US markets. But look, inflation's everywhere. Inflation's happening here in New Zealand, 6.9%. It's happening over in Europe, where we have some countries that have 9 or 10% inflation rates in the EU. So it's happening everywhere, guys. It's not just a US thing, but we talk a lot about the US because they're the global bellwether of market health. Now, I mentioned this 7% after a year thing because the equity markets do tend to recover after initial pain during rate hike cycles. Now, initially, during the first 3 to 6 months following the first rate hike, we tend to see lackluster performance or even mild to slightly more than mild corrections happening to the prices of the major indexes, which, again, high correlation to crypto, right? The good news is that after 6 months, we do usually see small positive returns, as you can see right here on the chart. Usually we do see some small positive returns, and after 12 months, we tend to see larger returns for the markets overall. Now, that is from the baseline of when the Federal Reserve rate hikes first happen. So when that happened, Bitcoin was already down 40%. So based on this idea, we may not see new all-time highs within the next year, if Bitcoin keeps following along so closely to these major stock indexes. Because if they go up 7 to 10%, well, that's great, and Bitcoin will be going up too, but the likelihood of getting to a new all-time high in that situation, not as likely as I would like it to be. I wanted to share this too. Jim Bianco shared some great research over here on Twitter. Basically, we're in this Fed rate hike cycle, and he's saying that the market had 14 rate hikes priced in for the entire cycle. However, he's saying here that a lot of major fund managers and all of these guys have not priced that in. He says the Fed's stated hiking cycle is not priced in. Too many have not been listening and just realized that the Fed means what they say. And if the Bank of America survey is right, then risk markets have another 7 rate hikes to price in. They've only priced in 7, according to what Jim's saying. But it looks like we're going to have 14, meaning they've only priced in half of the rate hikes into the market, meaning there's more potential downside. for the equity markets, which again are highly correlated with the crypto markets right now. Then, of course, we have to worry that, well, the Fed's doing all this stuff with the interest rates, but then they might also start selling off their mortgage-backed securities. They have all these mortgage-backed securities sitting on their balance sheet, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of them. If they start selling those in a weak market like this, it's going to be hard for them to find buyers. It's basically a one-way trip to Goblin Town for the stock markets and for the crypto markets, likely, again, making it less likely that we are going to see all-time highs for Bitcoin or Ethereum in 2022. Here's an interesting model I found as well from Jareen Timir. He is the macro director over at Fidelity. Basically, this is looking at Bitcoin supply and demand models. We take in the stock to flow. We also have the mobile phone S curve. So basically growing adoption rates over time. Now, what's interesting here is that based on this model, if we just assume supply and demand, we also are looking at Bitcoin not potentially reaching new all-time highs until either later in 2022, like the end of the year, or more likely sometime in 2023. $100,000 Bitcoin coming, according to this supply and demand model, sometime in mid to late 2023, which really is not that far away. I know everyone's so damn impatient in the market. If you can't get rich overnight, you don't even want to get rich at all. Some crazy stuff, but that's how a lot of the market is acting, unfortunately. But we are seeing adoption continuing to rise for Bitcoin all the time. And look, it could be a while right now. Crypto's probably not going to do a whole lot until the market feels a bit more comfortable taking on risk again, until we start resolving some of these issues, and until inflation starts coming back down, until we have more clarity on how many interest rate hikes there's going to be, until we have clarity on whether or not the Federal Reserve is going to start selling off those mortgage-backed securities. Right? These big things weighing on the market. What the commodity prices are going to do. What's the price of oil going to do? Right? Until we have some better direction on all this stuff, the market's going to remain risk averse, which, for better or worse, includes crypto. Now look, this is just pointing out some of the ways that things could not, be as exciting this year as we want them to be. And look, I would love for new all-time highs to come this year. And there are a lot of models that show, there's different patterns that we could look at that show actually we're right on track, and we could actually be at new all-time highs in just a couple of months' time. It really can happen that quickly. We also have a lot of potential bullish catalysts that could propel Bitcoin higher. We could have the Petro Bitcoin happening in Russia. We could have a spot Bitcoin ETF approved in the USA. We could have Facebook come out and say they bought $1 billion of the Bitcoin. The markets would go nuts, man. A new country adopting Bitcoin could happen too. All of these things could help push Bitcoin higher. Bitcoin goes higher, breaks its correlation with the equity markets, which it can do at any time. Just because correlation is high right now doesn't mean correlation is always high. In fact, we've had periods where we've had negative correlation to the equity markets. It's just that ever since the COVID crash back in early 2020, we have been highly correlated to the equity markets. Before that, we are actually uncorrelated quite frequently, which was a good time for Bitcoin. Obviously, we've seen new all-time highs with high correlation to the equity markets. The free money and monetary easing policies pushed up everything, and now they're tightening, and it's pulling everything back down. There's a lot of macro risks out there, making it difficult for us to get a path where Bitcoin gets to new all-time highs, or Ethereum gets to new all-time highs this year, without some new catalysts coming in that are going to get the eyes of the public back onto the cryptocurrency market. Now, all that being said, I'm still buying Bitcoin every single week right now. I'm still adding to a few altcoins. I'm still yield farming a bunch of coins. I'm still making money on, Anchor and stuff like that with my dollar stable coins. There's still so much potential in the market. And just because it's a bit harder to find those opportunities right now doesn't mean the opportunities aren't there. Just because you have to work a bit more to find gains in the market right now does not mean the gains are not there. The savvy investors will find ways to make this market work for them. That's accumulation, that's dollar cost averaging, that's stacking sats, that's finding DeFi plays, getting into token sales, flipping NFTs. There's still ways to be making money in this market right now. It's just that it's not as easy. We may not see all-time highs for our favorite crypto assets for a little while. Anyway, bit of a perhaps contrarian video today, but I think it is very important to be very keenly aware of the risks in the markets right now and to not let our expectations go too crazy. I would hope that I'm wrong, personally. I hope we do get all-time highs coming in much sooner than later. But with all this risk in the market, let's just approach things with a bit of caution at the moment. Anyway, just my 2 Satoshis for the day. You'll let me know your thoughts on any of this stuff down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching, and peace out till next time.